Well, it's MOvember, day 6, and I'm going to keep with my commitment to putting up a video every day of some tool in recovery. Now, on day 3, I did the addictive system. Today, I want to do the mirror side out of the book, Facing Addiction, that has the recovery system. So look at day 3 for the review. But the figure 8 that we worked on then in the addictive system is that we have core beliefs usually obtained in childhood, the things like I'm not okay, I'm unlovable, I'm unworthy, I'm bad, I'm flawed. And then that leads in the system down towards impaired thinking. Impaired thinking for addicts is one won't hurt, I deserve this, I've worked so hard. That brings us down into that gives us permission to then go into fantasy about the addiction, the preoccupation, the seeds planted, we dwell on it, we get that euphoric recall. This triggers the brain's reward system. The euphoric recall puts us into rituals, people, places, and things that activate the addiction. Again, now the brain's reward system is really pumping all those chemicals we haven't even used yet, but we are now in a stage of relapse. And then what happens is we then act out. Now, like I said the other day, that acting out, if you meet the criteria of addiction, leads to the shame cycle, and then largely due to this powerlessness, we now have the evidence of unmanageability. So that addictive system needs to be replaced with something more than just abstinence. So tonight we're going to look at the mirror side of that, which is the recovery system, and we start with beliefs. So what I wanted to pull out of this book to read to you tonight is Kahn says at the beginning that largely our best thinking got us here. So for us in early recovery, we might need to subscribe to some provisional beliefs just to get us started. And these are usually done out of desperation early on. So let me read, inspired by the work of Stephen Covey out of the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, these beliefs that sort of inspire a paradigm shift in our thinking. So he says, for the time being, you may not be able to trust your own perceptions, that you will have to trust the perceptions of others, even as mistaken and as unpleasant as you believe them to be at the time. Now, what that simply means is, when I first went to Narcotics Anonymous, I didn't think I was going to get abstinent from all drugs. I didn't know. I knew I had to stop, but the idea of one's too many, 1,000 never enough. That sort of overwhelmed me. The thought of being completely abstinent. It was a pretty unpleasant idea. I knew in my heart I probably needed to do it, but it's just an example of that unpleasant or mistaken. Some of the things we need to do in recovery feel like an overreaction because we're so used to being deluded and having denial about the impact of use and consequence in the addiction. For the time being, you will have to trust that you have been damaged far more than you know, but that time and recovery can work wonders in repairing this damage and in helping you become the person you're meant to be. The literature on post-acute withdrawal syndrome and acute withdrawal syndrome I will present as a standalone piece. But it's largely saying in that period of that first sort of 18 months of recovery, my brain chemistry, my brain's reward system is going to take a while. It will repair. The brain is an amazing organ, especially if we start to, as Dan Siegel says, to really direct our focus. We can write new neural pathways and we can change old ones. So the brain is plastic and malleable. So we will get that repair, but we sort of need to know in the beginning that, look, it's going to take a while, so hang in there. For the time being, you must remember that addiction is a form of insanity in which you have been deluded about reality. You need to believe that you must pursue reality at all costs. The only way out of this insanity is to tell those who are helping you all that has happened. They can support you in reclaiming reality. You must do this without minimizing or omitting awkward details. And you may not make private deals with yourself about holding things back. Anything less than full disclosure lowers your probability of recovery. Now, there's so much in that. But the basic the bumper sticker for this for addicts is we're as sick as our secrets. I can't hang on to a fantasy. See, most folks think I just can't use, but it's not about the not using. By the time we're making that decision, should I pick up this drink that's in my hand? Should I have a shot of this heroin that's in my hand? That's way too late. That's the least powerful time to make that decision. I need to have made that decision around the people, places, and things. That I can't afford the luxury as a recovering addict to go into euphoric recall, to neg rave around addiction, because my brain's reward just triggers and it starts to fire immediately. So starting to face reality at all costs sharing with those who can help us the awkward details. Now, if you're an addict that has to get honest about something, believe me, it's awkward, especially if it's around sex addiction and things you don't want to tell anyone, harboring a fantasy for the new barista or that new person, a new colleague at work. I don't want to tell those awkward details to folks, but these are the things we need to do in recovery. And the private deals with self. Oh no, I've just done something. Let's keep that secret. Let's not tell everyone. Those private deals have to go. Now, I like the way they say it here. We can't say to anyone that you won't recover if you do this, but we can say it lowers the probability that if you are harboring secrets, not telling all of the people that can help you, that being as sick as our secret means it's the addicts, the addict alone is in bad company. And essentially that's what happens when we just harbour secrets. Last but not least here is, for the time being, you must allow people to care for you, even if you do not feel that you deserve love and care. We come into recovery with a lot of self-loathing, so sometimes people being kind to us feels overwhelming. You are important, valued and appreciated in ways that are hard to accept right now. This means that you must follow through on what is asked of you, to surrender control of your life to those who can care for you better than you can care for yourself at this time. Now, all those things are sort of a big ask, a new order. And so really what this is saying is not that we have to abandon our best thinking forever. It's just that in the beginning, we're so hardwired to do today what we did yesterday that we sort of need a new approach, new thinking, and we need to trust that others might just know the way out of here better than we know the way out of here. We knew how to get us into trouble, but maybe not the way out. So let me take you around this cycle just to tell you where it sort of fits into the recovery side of things, and that'll be the download for today. So what we got here is at the top, it's a recovery cycle. So where we once had core beliefs, we need new beliefs in recovery that can inspire us to start even thinking that it's possible. So for me, an example of a new belief was one's too many, a thousand's never enough. That was the beginning of not just an empowered thought around recovery, but that I'm sort of worth it. The PMLD literature around developing self-esteem, coming up with affirmations, Pete Walker's literature on perfectionism attacks, and coming up with affirmations that starts to thought block those old messages, those old scripts from our childhood. So in recovery, if we can start to practice things like gratitudes, and gratitude's not just about stuff outside of us, but for who we are. You know, I'm grateful today that I'm in recovery. I'm grateful today I've got people I can trust and talk to. I'm grateful today that there's someone who believes in me in those times I can't believe in myself. Just starting to get new beliefs can be essential to making the next step. Now, those new beliefs make it possible for us to then even consider that we can have new and powerful thinking. Now, when I first read the first 12-step book I got hold of, which was Narcotics Anonymous literature, it felt like someone had followed me around and taken notes. Just reading that, reading the steps, just for today, more will be revealed. You know, what is an addict? Those things blew my mind. The pamphlet, the triangle of self-obsession, just opened up just new ways to think. And the phrase at a 12-step menu, you can leave this room and never use again. I'd left many rooms before I found Narcotics Anonymous, and believe me, I used again, usually on the way out. You know, I wasn't one of those dope addicts that would get their drugs and go home. I'd want to use it there if I could. So in recovery, we need to get empowered thinking. Now, one of the ways we do that are things like Just for Today reading books, As Bill Sees It, inspirational literature from Hazelden, getting little downloads that we can take in bite-sized pieces, the slogans that you see in the 12, easy does it, let go and let God, think, 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 how important is it? You know, those little sayings, the serenity prayer, bite-sized pieces that can sort of drip feed into our brain to inspire a different way of thinking, which will inspire a different way of feeling. And these things in early recovery, our neuro pathways, the strongest pathways are towards addiction, are towards the old beliefs. So this stuff needs to be planted in us. We need to read it daily to take it on board. So this empowered thinking and those little, what I would probably put down to keep it simple is just for today, the daily reading books and affirmations can be really helpful in creating empowered thinking. Now, if we start feeding our brain that new material, focusing on new material, then it leads us into a lifestyle of what we'd say, instead of the addictive cycle, it's a renewal cycle. If we're in a struggle, if we're in a struggling time, things are hard, we might need to up our program, and so really bring things that can help us to focus on recovery and sort of what they call in, say, Sex and Love Addicts Anonymous, top line behaviours, outer circle behaviours in SAR. So this leads us to those rituals. Now, when we were an addict, we had rituals that involved people. They were usually our drug dealers. And so now what we need in recovery is that we can't do this on our own. We're social creatures. The people that have inspired me in recovery are too many to mention now. But when I reached out, people reached back. And so in recovery, I need to get myself things like a sponsor. I need to do outreach calls. I need to go up to people and ask, can I get your number? I'm new here. I can't wait for them to approach me. Phone numbers that the government provides services for, Lifeline, Men's Line, Beyond Blue. I need to reach out. I need to be able to get new people in my life. And for a lot of us, we had to get rid of old people that were connected to our addiction. So it can be a lonely time in early recovery because those are the people that are most familiar and these new people are strangers. But we need to take on board those provisional beliefs, and we've got to find those people. The next thing is places. I might need to, in recovery, let go of a lot of old places and stomping grounds that I used, but I need to create new places to go. For me, largely in the beginning, it was a detox, then it was 12-step meetings, then it was coffee shops that you knew that 12-step people would hang out in. It was largely unfamiliar and really difficult to do, but I did it because I was desperate. There was those provisional beliefs in action, and so finding new places that are safe, making old places safe. I had to go home from detox and throw out all my drug paraphernalia and any drugs that I could find and get rid of it all. Make it as safe. You're a sex addict, you might need to lock down your computers, lock down your smartphone. If you're an overeater, you need to change the way that your pantry is set out, and the way that you prepare food, and the way that you plan food. So these particular places need to be reset up. And the other thing is things. In addiction, we have to get rid of some of those things that I mentioned, the paraphernalia of addiction, but we need to pull into our recovery the things that we might need. For some folks, it's a meditation app on their smartphone. It's a space at home where they've put around some special things that elicit in them hope and spirituality. But what can I, for some folks, they might start wearing a bracelet that has their fellowship symbol on it, or just little things that that can inspire us, in regards to rituals about recovery that get us to focus and lead us to being in what they would say is the zone behaviors. Now these rituals would lead us into things like 12-step meetings and meditation, practices, socializing with folks in recovery. Largely that we're in those healthy zone behaviors. That Patrick Carnes has 3 primary things for health: good diet, good rest, good exercise. So all these things fit into those zone behaviors, the things that actually are now action-based. It's not an idea anymore. We're doing it. We're living it. One of the things around zone behaviors in early recovery, you might do 90 and 90 meetings in 90 days. You might do outreach calls where you ring your sponsor, and in a fellowship like Sex and Love Addicts Anonymous, they get you to ring 3 people a day. Get those relationships happening. Get those neural pathways being formed. Of course, this leads towards the rewards of recovery. And these rewards are where we start to get that sense of connection, and that connection to self, the connection to others, and the connection to God as you understand God, whatever that is. If you're an atheist, then it might be the connection to others, the group, a new way of life. If you're a spiritual person or agnostic, you might be open to that energy. If you're a religious person or have a particular belief system, it gives you access to it. And so these rewards become really clear. I know. Now, I know in recent times on TED Talks, there was a huge amount of interest in the idea of recovery is about disconnection to connection, and it seemed to allude that some of these 12-step fellowships and that didn't seem to have that. It was like a missing piece of something. But I just want to sort of be on record as saying that I found that what's kept me going for 31 years is it's all about connection. It's all about the therapeutic value of one addict helping another. It's without parallel. The people in my life now are the people that I was promised would be there. That if I worked that program and did service and attended regularly, and I've got people in my phone that I've been ringing now for 30 years, and the value of that to me will never be able to be measured. But it was a huge fear when I had to let go of all those old people, places and things from the past. Would this new thing, this new recovery promise happen? And it happened. Those rewards happened. And then I suppose last but not least out of this comes the resilience over time, and that would be the promises of recovery. And I might go and do a whole session on that at one point, but we largely get a lot of freedom from the things that bound us in the past. So the idea that new beliefs that make recovery possible are really important affirmations around, that I am lovable, I am worthy of support. That empowered thinking, that we can start to go into one's too many, a thousand's never enough, to paradigm shifts that lead to new ways to focus on recovery. This new focusing leads us to rituals that replace the people, places and things from our addiction with people, places and things from our recovery. This needs to be tangible. Those rituals lead to zone behaviors, a lifestyle that if someone looked in through a looking glass and saw your life, they would largely see a radical change, not just in the way that you present, but the bong on the side of the bed table has been replaced with spiritual literature. Your journal, your phone hasn't got dealers' numbers in it anymore. It's got people in recovery's numbers, your therapist, a spiritual person that inspires you, mentors. And these zone behaviors lead to absolute and real rewards that are about connection to you, self, and God. That life lived leads to the promises of recovery, a resilience that allows that not only at a body level, at a brain reward system level, we are now able to live in a distress tolerance much larger than we could absolutely handle before, when we were really driving our system to ruin. And so that resilience, then the promises come true because largely we are now living in a whole new window of awareness. So I hope this has been useful. And if you have any questions about it, please personal message me, share this video if you think it'll help anyone else in recovery. And I look forward to talking to you tomorrow. Bye for now.